or actually a lot. There's this poem that he wrote about, a Chinese painting, about this beautiful parakeet and then this peach. And it's beautiful, it's sharp, and he describes it in beautiful detail. But the final words of that poem are, I know the stupid bird will never eat the stupid peach. And so some people have said before that in Angelia's poetry, nothing ever happens, or does it? Same thing for his prose, same thing for short stories. You are challenged to actually find out what is going on. Probably like his second most famous poem, first most, Old House on Unsettled, that bears strong parallels to Do at 5 o'clock. Person wanders into a house, interacts with the people who are there or not there, looks around, goes out, nothing happens. But in itself is commentary on space, on time, on traditional relations, on where Singapore has moved, on the nature of inhabitants, on the nature of time and being and memory, all in that short meditation. Let's see, where can I sneak in the poem? Yeah, just let's talk about painting, because this is a poem I really like called Conceptual Art. From his last collection, Man, Snake, Apple. It goes, conceptual art is enough. When the picture is removed, the patch of wall that clung to shows a contrasted freshness exactly the size of the picture. The resulting after image, to be sure, is precise, is exact, is clear. To be sure, it effloresces, is out of tone with wall, is strangely too loud, is too enough. And that is just a poem of absences, but which defines space. And in those short, terse, 2-page short stories, the negative space really invites the reader to fill in what he thinks about this family that is struggling with where to put their mother, about this man who goes out of his body, has an out-body experience and doesn't come back. Where do we fill in the blanks? And in the most intriguing story, which is the last one for me as well, where you have a 35-year time jump, where a simple childhood incident, a slap, affects entire life, entire career, or does it again? Lots of questions to be asked. And the last thing for me is Angelia is a deeply private individual. You don't see the word you happen very much in short stories. There is no other character that it's addressed to. It's very much a narrator who's detached from the scene, occasionally inserting a sound observation of some form. And there's like omniscient, staring characters here, but there's no personal involvement for many of these pieces. And this is actually something different from his poetry. At least definitely his first collection, Only Lines, is full of yous, full of love poems, especially the wonderful love poems about how he feels about people, but combined with his thoughts on language. And as you see Angelia progress through his various collections, especially after his time in linguistics, you see that you retreat more and more. You see less of these love poems appearing in Angelia to the very end of Snake, Apple, when you can only find about 1 or 2 in the whole collection, one of which is to his partner. But in this set of short stories, there is really no romantic love to be found. There is no romantic love. There is some limited family interaction, father, mother, but even that is like characterized by economics, about who is going to take care of the mom. No money, house not big enough, so expensive. Even the family, the 5-year plan, the relationship between the father and the mother is just purely economics. Okay, you need to go and wash clothes to go and pay for this, that, so on and so forth. There is no love in the short stories. And that absence is something that makes you question, is there more to this? Is there more Angelia? Are there more short stories out there hidden in the drawer that may tell more about the personal? And to me, that's a big answer question. Is this a full representation of his writing? Because Angelia, the deeply private poet, with hints of the personal showing through, refusing to comment that much on the public world except overtly, is that all? And I just have to end with a poem because, but there are so many truths here. Out of Location, which is the second poem in this first book. Location. So this village is still here without change. And if I stay here any longer, I am already where I shall always be, here without change. In this village, still here. Some things remain, some things pass. Some things are tired. Bicycles arriving, cleaned bicycles departing. And if today not many people are arriving, Do not change the day to bring in yesterday, riding an old identity, which anywhere has come and gone every year ago. And if you see a bicycle leaning on the grass, neither tired nor cleaned, then it is just resting sufficiently to make no sense at all, an unallocated collection. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, I just want to throw in one question before we open the floor. You talked about some of the commonalities, okay, between his poems and his short stories. But I'm wondering, do you notice any differences? Why, for instance, would he then write these stories using the short story genre? And many of them remind me of the genre of flash fiction that's currently being popularized. They are very, very short stories that can be read on the go and seem to capture this moment in time. So why do you think? I mean, what are there differences that you notice? I mean, the short story form sort of offers something else than the poetic form. And since you've written both poetry and short story, maybe you can offer some insight into this.
I think it's difficult to actually analyze those 8 pieces as a whole, which I think Angus has struggled with. You also divide them into the first 3, and the next 4, and the last one, right? So, because they are very different in style and in theme. I would say the first few, to me, are prose poems. They fit completely into the tradition of what he's written and what he has done. The last piece is the most troublesome. I have no idea why he wrote that and where it works. But at the same time, it's also the most intriguing for me, like Angus is. And the middle 2 or 3 they do tell stories. There is some plot in them, and there is some form of conclusion. One of which, the one about Wang Lu, is it that time?
Yeah.
The name which escapes me, the one where a person has an out-of-body experience and comes back. There is a complete story, there is a plot, and it reads almost like a fable or parable or fairy tale. And that's completely unusual about the yacht. There's this complete, the circle is closed. There is some foreshadowing, there is some things happen, and in the end, beginning, finish, there is an end. And to me, that was a very difficult one to do because that felt like a non-Upper Yacht story, if there's such a thing to begin with. And perhaps it was just experimentation with a different medium. For me, myself, when I try and write different things, I experience block in a certain area. Sometimes a change of form actually speeds up the process, but I can't venture further on that.
Okay, all right. Okay, we've got, Joshua needs to leave at 8, so we've not got a lot of time. All right, but anyway, I'm just going to open the floor. Anyone has a question or, you want to offer a particular insight or point of view? The floor is now yours. I've got a mic so I can wander around and ask you.
Shall I ask a question just to Suzanne? This question is intended to tease.
Yeah.
Right? Arthur and I were very good friends. And whenever
Sorry, do you want to introduce yourself?
my name is Choo. And whenever I came back to Singapore at the end of each year, just to enjoy the cool weather, we would meet up. We would eat at Mark 10 and we would gossip. And I would be inevitably asking, well, have you been writing anymore? Have you been doing more paintings? And he said, well, I did some paintings, and I didn't like them, so I chucked them out. Right? Poems, he wrote a few, pulled them out, didn't like them, which used to astonish me and upset me. So, but he was more interested in asking questions about needs. He was there doing MA in linguistics. And so, do you think Arthur would say to all this, critical attention that he's getting, and editorial attention he's getting these days? I mean, he was not, as you mentioned in your introduction, proactive the way the poets you play are proactive. So, do you have any views as to what Arthur might have to say these so laconic as he is, being so self-effacing.
Yeah,
And
Angus needs to answer this. What is the cause of all the critical
Oh
attention?
dear.
Yeah,
It's down my head.
yeah, go ahead.
But I don't think I would dare presume to think what he'd say. I think just as a humble scholar who, I don't know, adores Arthur Yap's work, it's kind of my duty, or I feel a push anyway, to try and recover as much as I can. But I realise at this point in time there is a kind of tension, isn't there, that relatives and friends may be wanting to protect Arthur's memory and his wish to be a private person. So there is a potential kind of clash there. But I hope that we've reached a kind of compromise finding these bits. But I must say there is a side of me which is almost like amoral about these things. I would just, yes, beg, steal or borrow to find more stories and things, to hear more. But it's wonderful, Shirley, to hear some nuggets. You know, any small details about Arthur's life, I think, are particularly precious to Yap scholars, because we do seem to know so little, and many of us never met him, so you know that's particularly important.
No, I'm very pleased
Yeah.
that he is getting all this attention, the poetry in particular, that is coming to the fore. I think he really deserves it, and he is, I think, one of the, if not the best, poet of that early generation.
Certainly you could say the most interesting, perhaps, the most
I have a somewhat ready-made answer to the question which you raised,
Okay.
which is In the Quiet of the Night, a poem from Master Gamble. When the alert ears pulse sound, I can hear again the words the poet I was earlier reading. He is one person I understand fully. I understand he is a poet, and I understand his poetry. I even understand my own knowledge of his privacy, which is public literary study. The words will move on more swiftly than tomorrow will be now, and I will know in reading game I do not know him, or any other, or myself, or that any poetry is the public transaction that it must be, and it must be private ultimately.
Well, Arthur will like that, but he has the last word.
Other questions? Okay, maybe I'll just throw one question. Okay, this is all right. You know, and you may disagree with me on this, but some of you mentioned that his stories are plotless, except for maybe that one story about the mask. Okay, it also strikes me that his stories are characterless. Okay, by this I don't mean that there are no characters, but the fact that if you look at all 8 stories, what I mean is that there are no likable characters. Okay, let me just see. I did a sort of analysis when I looked at it. Okay, he describes neighbors, for example. One story on the neighbors, and they are empty and they are vacant. We look at and that's about the kid who
Suzanne.
yeah, Suzanne, okay.